Today I'm going to be presenting to you guys organization theory, as well as how it applies to management. So just some contents before we get started. We're going to go over an overview of the organization theory. We're going to look at the importance of the theory to us today, as well as the three perspectives, which are the rational system, the natural system, open system, how they apply in management, and how I can synthesize the three perspectives as a business manager. So first, the overview of the organization theory. Organization theory focuses on consequential organizations and examines how these organizations are structured, their characteristics, how they adapt, as well as the effects on the individual, inside the organization, and the environment around. Why is organization theory important? It's important because organizations are part of our history. If you look back through history, you can see the importance of organizations and how they affect our daily lives. Some examples: Europeans first escaped organizations, fled to the Americas, and the United States itself started and is still an organization, and it has a pretty big impact on people here in the U.S. as well as people all around the globe. Another reason why organization theory is important is because we live in organization society. Organizations are all around us, and they're significant parts of our lives. So, that could be anything from high schools, colleges, hospitals, businesses, groups, associations. All of those can be considered organizations. And all those organizations can have some effect on our personal lives and our day-to-day lives. So understanding organization theory can allow us to solve real-world problems when it comes to organizations and organizing. All right, the three main perspectives when it comes to organization theory, it's going to be the rational, the open, and the natural system perspectives. Each one differs on approach, structure, function, goals, method of management. So we'll look closely at all three perspectives and how they affect the individual, the environment, as well as how it affects management practices. So first is the rational system perspective. This is the most apparent system associated with organization theory. So it's the one that people most look at whenever they're talking about organizational theory. It really focuses on how organizations deal with power conflicts, how organizations are structured, and one of the main themes is putting the overreaching organization and its goals as the top priority. So you might see sacrifices in personal goals and satisfaction for organizational success. Some of the core aspects include tasks, goals, performance, efficiency, most ideal management, and rationality over rationality over humanity. Some of the main schools of thought associated with the rational system are the Max Weber's bureaucracy, as well as the Taylorism and scientific management. So those two schools of thought just focus on placing the importance on the organization and not so much on the individual, as well as finding the best way to do a task and become most efficient. The second system, it's the natural system perspective. It focuses on the social aspect of the organization, and it's a direct critique of the rational system perspective. So this one states that organizations are more social structures beyond just profit maximizing. So there's a strive for balance between organizations' technical and human requirements. And this was seen in the Hawthorne studies, which highlighted the natural system perspective and placed importance on the human nature side of organizations. So in short, these four studies found importance in keeping employees happy and establishing the principle of corporate paternalism. So they found that treating employees like people, not just like machines, will keep them happy and over time improve efficiency and business success in the organization. It also created employee expectations that we see today. Things like employee ergonomics, social aspects of the workplace, um, longer and extended lunch and rest breaks, friendlier supervisors, uh, job attitudes, culture, and team building. And then the open system perspective, this one looks at how organizations um, depend on each other and the relationship they have with other organizations, as well as the outside environment. So there's four main types of organizations within this perspective that they could fall under. The first one is resource dependence. These are organizations that minimize their dependence on others for resources through organizational decisions to control their environment. Some of this includes acquisitions, collaborative networking with other organizations, um, as well as like board control. So like one member of the board will be on the other board as well. So it's try and reduce uncertainty and increase survival chances. The next type is collaborative network. These are companies that come together to become more cooperative, and they actually share resources rather than try to minimize dependence. So these are more horizontal relationships than vertical relationships. So these are more like partnerships. You won't see any acquisitions in this group. Population ecology. This focuses on organizations that are in a similar and competitive environment. Um, and these organizations, they emphasize the lifetime and life cycles of the organizations, and they look at different strategies for survival. And then the last one, institutionalism. It looks at organizations that are cooperative and more similar. So they just focus on survival through congruence and legitimacy, with an emphasis on what causes organizations in an organizational field to become more and more similar. All right. So application and management. So the three perspectives play a vital role in business management, especially in the C-suite. Organization theory can inform and influence many decisions CEO, COO, or CFO will make. So as a C-suite manager, you have to take into consideration all three of these theories. The rational system, the C-suite uses them to design organizational structure and divide up labor, as well as looking to maximize organizational efficiency. They use the natural system to understand the importance of employee engagement and work culture, as well as looking to use collaborative leadership styles that take into consideration the emotional and psychological side of the workplace. And then the open system, they'll use the open system to encourage flexibility and strategic adaptation when overseeing enterprise level changes. And they also place importance on external stakeholders more than internal stakeholders. So my synthesis of the three perspectives, as a business manager, I would see the natural system perspective dominating my field. I would use the natural system perspective to inform and guide my decisions as a manager. And that's because I believe creating a work environment and culture to be very important when it comes to successful organization. For the other two, I would just mainly use those to gauge business success and status. So the rational system, I could use the rational system principles to study efficiency and productivity metrics in the business. And then lastly, the open system, I could use, or I would use the open system to place importance on how my company is perceived in the external environment, as well as take steps to ensure survival in the organization.